Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. This is the Finance Committee meeting for Monday, August 25th, and I will call the meeting to order. Now is the time for public comments. Any comments on items that are not on the agenda can be brought before us at this time. Is there any public comment tonight? Seeing none, I will move on to the regular business. And the first item is to approve the minutes from the July 28th, 2025 regular meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Our second item of business is the Measure E marketing discussion with a presentation by member Alexander Henderson.
Chairman Smith, members of the committee, as directed by council, staff has taken steps in anticipation of placing a public safety sales tax on the June 2nd, 2026 primary election for the extension of Measure E, a 1% public safety sales tax that was passed by Kingsburg voters in 2018. Council heard a presentation from BBK Law Firm at their regular meeting on August 20, 2025. BBK was retained to assist in the preparation of legal documents and to provide guidance to staff and council. As part of our efforts, staff has also solicited proposals for marketing efforts leading up to the measure. So this evening, there are 3 proposals included in your documentation, and staff is seeking discussion and input on campaign marketing, including the limitations based upon election law regarding utilization of city funds and resources. So including in your packet this evening, there is the main timeline, which we discussed at the meeting, the council meeting last week. If you'll recall, BBK kind of said that sort of the first option for council adoption is in January of 2026, and then the deadline is on March 6, 2026. So sometime within that time period, the council will actually adopt a resolution placing the item on the ballot. There are 3 different marketing proposals before you this evening for consideration. The first one is from Elevate Strategies. They're a national firm that has done this on several occasions. They have a pretty basic slide deck that they put together. If you go to page 36 of 71, Abby, you'll see the consulting packages options that they have. The general one is $2,000 a month for up to 10 hours per month of core services, including 2 meetings each month with their team. Additional things like ad placement, direct mails, texting, and any other campaign items that the Finance Committee or Council may wish to undertake would be additional costs, and those are laid out as well. The second one is by Pivotal Strategies. Pivotal Strategies is located out of LA, but they've also done campaigns. They're mostly focused in California, but they have done other ones as well, and they have a sample of information here to kind of show what they've done, their successes previously. The Elevate one, I would say, just personally, is probably one that we won't look at. Their pricing structure was at $65,000 base, and then additional costs for other items. So a little bit out of the scope of what we were considering when a budget was adopted by the council for marketing purposes. And then the third one is local, Oat and Oak. So they're the same firm, Quinn Hurt, who does the marketing for the Business Improvement District. So he put together a program here. His is a little bit more specific on what the actual content would be. So if you look at his scope of work, it would include a long format video, one of those, 4 short format videos, 6 infographics and print designs, as well as social media posts, and then a print mailer design as well. And his cost is $15,000, which is a flat rate. And you can see how it's broken down. On the very last page, he has it broken down basically on individual types of product delivery. So if there are certain types of things that we wanted to amplify or reduce, didn't think we needed to do as much, we can handle that as well. So tonight, again, is discussion on if we would like to move forward with any one of these three proposals, any modifications potentially that you'd like staff to go back with regards to the marketing campaign itself. Otherwise, would consider a motion for the council to consider as part of our marketing effort until the measure is placed upon the ballot. So that concludes my report, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Good, thank you. Committee discussion?
So I was saying that we already have budgeted 50,000 of. 50, goal.
Yeah, so I don't think the pivotal one is really on the table from my perspective. So I think it's down to the other two. My personal opinion is that it would probably be that I think Quinn, because of his knowledge of the community and some of the work that he's done here already, is probably would be my recommendation, would be my preference, only because I think it will also be less work for us to have to bring him up to speed in terms of what Measure E means for the community and what what the marketing landscape is here in Kingsburg, because as he's familiar, obviously, with his work through the Business Improvement District, and because he's local, I think we can, if we have some alterations or things that we're requesting of him, it'll be easier to identify those as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. But if there are, I think bigger for me too is if there, I want to make sure that we're covering, what we want in terms of getting information out to the community. I do think that there will be an opportunity if the associations decide to do more advocacy, they can do something separate from this project. They can approach Quinn separately and work on some of the things that are maybe more their desirables. But other than that, I think that this will provide something that's useful for the city. You can help us with our website development for our Measure E page as we build that out, and just provide that, as Mr. Richardson talked about at our meeting on Wednesday, talked about providing factual information that is not advocacy based.
I agree. I like the proposal from Oak. We know the company, we know the work. He does a good job. It's very thorough as far as what we can expect and when we can expect it. And I appreciate that. There is a lot in here. I think it's a good basis for what we're looking for. And I completely agree. He knows who to talk to. The community knows he has an established presence in the community, and I think that'll go along.
I concur with all of your comments.
I'll open this up for public comment if there's anyone wanting to do that. If you want to talk.
Maybe I missed something. Chris Peterson, you know who I am. Maybe I missed something, but I'm thinking of what the guy, some prata svenska I Ondags, said, that it has to be, the city can't be biased in their message. And I know that in Oak's paperwork, they said factual. But I guess I'm confused as to if you can't advocate for it. And I understand the factual part. How can the city legally hire a marketing company to do anything for this? And maybe I'm missing a step.
No, I think it's a good question. So it's really, for us, is going to be, we want to have readily available information about what the measure has done. And we have some of that already, on our website and some other places, but, I think that thought process, at least the direction that I've received is to have something more professionally done that can provide that information. So when people start to ask questions about it, it's readily available. It'll be on our website, and then we can put it out there. But everything that, whether we were doing it or whether somebody else does it, is going to get funneled through BBK to make sure that from an advocacy standpoint, it is following the rules. Yeah, for sure. And I actually had them review all three of these proposals as well, just to say, hey, we're looking at this from, basically from a perspective of that we want to get information out there. There is, I guess, a fine line of like, well, is this advocacy or is this factual information? I mean, I think the council and staff realize the importance of the measure. So in general, we are for it, but we know that when we're spending, city dollars, we have to be making sure we're following state law.
And then I don't know what's planned as far as rallies or meetings or get-togethers or fika time about Measure E. I don't know what's planned, and maybe nothing's planned, or maybe you don't have anything planned yet. But for example, and this is just hypothetical, let's say there's some sort of meeting at one of the city parks to discuss Measure E. The city owns that property. Is having a meeting, let's say Community Service Club XYZ decides to have a meeting at the park, does that violate the use of city property to have a meeting to discuss this?
No. So if it's a place where the public can rent it or access it all the same. So the way that it worked in 2018 is that there was a group of private citizens, and the police and the fire associations created a political action committee and registered it with the state. And then they either, rented a space or had meetings in private locations, and then they discussed how to be advocates for the measure. But then if they were spending money, like if they were doing mailers, things like that, it was money that was coming from them, right? From donations or from their political action committee. But no, the use of the space itself is not problematic because the public can use it. If like Mr. Richardson was talking about the other evening, if a council member wants to go to that meeting, they can participate as a private citizen. They just can't, it couldn't be at 2:00 in the afternoon. You couldn't have a bunch of employees over there because that would be, the work day, and, you just have to separate those things.
Because there's lots of, as you know, because I'm preaching to the choir here, there are plenty of community-based organizations, clubs, groups, churches, whatever, that have their own sort of clique, so to speak, or group that could do the advocacy for this. So if that's the case from, let's say, from Church XYZ, would they have to come to the city and say, I need information? And that would be legal? They could get the factual information and then hold a meeting in Church XYZ to discuss it?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know that they have to come to the city. I mean, if they wanted to hold their own meeting, they certainly could. I think it would be appreciated if they came and asked for, hey, how much money has the city gotten from Measure E since its inception, right? Asking for those factual things. What have you spent the money on? What would happen if the measure went away? I mean, I think those are all factual conversations that you're having. They're all part of that. So I think what would help, what this proposal here helps us, from our perspective, put that information out there. And so if there are questions that I think voters will have, should they choose to go seek it, or should those community groups choose to promote it or push it, then they'll have that information as well. Whether they choose to use it is up to them.
Well, I say come to the city because you have all the facts and figures. I mean, yes, a person could theoretically go and search around for it if they had that desire or time. But if it was already, the facts are already in a one-shop location, so to speak, then they would have facts instead of just having a meeting and spouting what they want.
Right.
And so along those lines, and I realize the city can't advocate, they can only present facts, but, and maybe you already have this in mind, in the back of your mind, that these various groups in town, which are many, clubs, churches, whatever, could be encouraged to have some discussions amongst their people, because, you know, someone that's involved in Group A, it may not be involved in Group C. And if only Group C has information and not Group A, then they're missing out, theoretically. It's all hypothetically.
Yeah, I think a lot of that will probably happen outside of, I guess, what would be, you know, the city's outreach, you know, so once that private group gets together and, you know, they invite people to it and whoever they decide to have on it, then they can start having some of those conversations. You know, we'll talk about, do they order signs, and do they go knock on doors, and do they start to go meet with private groups? You know, I think those will be part of those discussions. You know, I think for us, we just want to make sure that when the questions come up, we are prepared to answer them factually and can put that information out there as we're allowed to. And then, you know, kind of after we get past the ballot, you know, the resolution being adopted, then it becomes those private groups. And really the associations, I mean, the way that these generally work is that you have the associations tend to be the ones that carry the water, because it's like they're union groups. They're groups that they have some funding that they can put towards it, and they're the ones that are, you know, are allowed to go out and, you know,
Right.
do those
Right.
activities.
Because this last measure was passed, what, 8 years ago, 10 years ago? Think about the increase in population in this town, and much of that increase in population have been from people out of the area. And I'm not even talking, I mean, out of the area could be Reedley, Dinuba, Selma, but also Northern California, that have moved here, have no idea what happened in the last election. You know, maybe don't even know anything about it because they go and they go shopping and do what they do and don't think about it. But I think, and this is my personal opinion, people need to think of what it would be like without it, because based on the many meetings I go to, I know how much that it helps the ambulance or the fire department and ambulance and the police department, to the tune of actual employees. I can't remember the number, but those bodies are the extra bodies to help with everything that goes on. And we have a large elderly population in town that probably want to continue feeling safe, that may need ambulance help from time to time. I don't, you know, you guys have access to the statistics. And I'm just, you know, just looking at some of these subgroups that need to have the factual nuts and bolts and not an emotional decision. So.
Yeah, and I think it'll be helpful to know, you know, as other people are out in the community, yourself, you know, because different factions, obviously, different things speak to them, right? So whether it's safety or, yeah, you know, the ambulance, being able to have the second ambulance out more often. I mean, yeah, Measure has. So before Measure was passed, the police department had 12 sworn officers, and now there's 25.
Oh, wow.
So it's just, I mean, it's not all Measure, but you're able to kind of take Measure dollars and leverage them as well. And same for the fire department. The fire department was 9 full-time employees. Now it's 18. So, and that has some of that is because of the contribution that the healthcare district provides to the city, specifically for the second ambulance, but our portion is funded through Measure E. So, you know, again, there'd be a significant difference in the two departments without it.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how many times have we listened to whichever fire department, police captain or whatever the title is, state that about the 2 ambulance thing, because now so many, if you have an ambulance call, it's not just going to Selma and back. it's up to Fresno, to St. Agnes or Clovis Community. And that's a 1 hour drive one way, plus the wait time, which is, if you've ever been in the ER there, you know that it's a lot of wait time, and then coming back. So that ambulance is not even near, it's not even, it's not like it can sell and then rush somewhere. So, and it's easy to be unaware of these things if you don't go to meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll close public comment. Any other committee discussion? Well, then I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend to the full council the Oat and Oak contract as proposed.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to our next item is other business, and there is none listed.